So roughly, how old are you when you really start practicing, like seriously? How old?
Wisdom has built her house. She has hewn out her 7 pillars. She has slaughtered her meat, and she has mixed her wine. She has also furnished her table. She has set out her baby. She cries out in the highest place of the city. Whoever is simple, let him turn in here. As for him who lacks understanding, she says to him, come, eat of my bread and drink of the wine I have made. Forsake foolishness and live, and go in the way of understanding.
Seriously practicing in the occult, probably about 29.
29. And so does it start off initially? Where does it start off initially? What are those initial seeds? Where do they come from?
Okay, so
What culture do they come from? How are you actually first exposed?
okay, you want to know? Okay, there's differences here. So we have to go way back if we went at my first touch of the occult. That was when I was a kid. So I was in my elementary school library looking for books on knights, because of course I was. Like knights and wizards, totally that's me. And I stumbled across this book about spells, charms, and something else. It was published by Llewellyn Publishing, but it was their very first hoodoo book. I didn't know this, like I know it now, but when I was little I didn't. I was just like, wait, spells are real? So I can with my little elementary school self, I can decide, oh, you know what? I don't really know what a crush is, but I guess I kind of have a crush on this girl I kind of like because she's my friend. So I'm going to cast this love spell on her. So I got the apple, I cut open the apple, I put the honey in, tied it with a lace. Nothing really happened, but I did the things. So that was the first time I touched the occult. And then throughout high school, I did the 12 steps of a modern magician stuff. I went through that. I did a bunch of stuff I found on Usenet. So back then there was a lot of messed up stuff on Usenet as far as how to occult. And then I decided it was all BS. That was like, I even did this like massive ritual right before I decided it was all BS. Because like I was trying to do super insane stuff like, oh, I can cast a spell to win lottery. Maybe I can cast a spell to turn invisible or walk through walls. Invisible I could get to, but walking through walls, no. Winning lottery, not so much, but I didn't do too bad with the magics. And we'll discuss that more later. But all of that, like, I just kind of fell into mundane life after that. And did a job that I really didn't like, which was tech support. You guys all know how fun tech support is. Have you turned the computer off yet? Okay, turn it off, turn it back on. Oh, it works. But you already tried that. Okay, that's cool. So that was where I was whenever I went back to school. When I went back to school, I wanted to study accounting because accountants make money. But then I fell in love with literature and found myself with a literature degree. And what can you do with literature? You can teach. So I went back to tech support, turning it on, turning it off, and decided that I was like, well, network administrators are a bit better, higher on the totem pole. So I was becoming network admin. When I was doing that, a coworker and I were having discussions. It's like, oh, I was really depressed until I did occult stuff. And I plugged into the Golden Dawn system, and it got me off the couch because he was like literally just laying on the couch all day. He was homeless, couch surfing. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I did the occult stuff when I was a kid. I wonder how much efficacy there is to that. So I started checking out podcasts and ended up hitting on one. And they had a correspondence course. So I joined them. But it was kind of, the reason why we were talking about that is because near the end of college, and then right when I started working, I had this super intense death anxiety, right? If I was left to my own devices at all, I would start thinking about death and I would be terrified, not able to function, not able to sleep, not able to do any of that stuff. And at the time, I I didn't really put a lot of stock in psychologists, right? So my dad was a pharmacist. So my youthful rebellion was, screw medicine, I don't need that. It's all shenanigans anyway, right? There's nothing real there. You know, that's,
Right.
if you're gonna rebel, it's not the worst way to.
Right.
So, so I was looking for something that would help me with that. And I didn't want to pick back up the black brick, the Golden Dawn book that's like this thick. I was like, I didn't want to do that. It was way too much stagecraft, and like I didn't know that. Like I didn't have time for that. I don't want to build out that. But the order I joined, the way they approached life was, you know, King Solomon, when he was doing all of this stuff back in the day, he had a vision. And in his vision, he saw that the normal middle-class person in America in the 1960s onward would have a 2-car garage. And he thought, you know, I can make this accessible to anybody with a 2-car garage. So let's take his writings from the Lig Megaton, from the Lesser Key of Solomon and the Greater Key of Solomon, and you can do all of that in a garage. So you just convert your garage into the temple, you come home, you have a drink with your wife, then you head into the temple and do the magics. And that was very middle class, a very middle class mage approach to life. And that really resonated with me as a middle class guy. So I converted my temple, painted it all dark blue, like my garage into it, painted it all dark blue because dark blue is better than black. Because black, it'll like slam up in your face. Dark blue, it like looks like a void. So set up that, got everything built, and then I found out something. Nobody actually saw this stuff through. It was like me and like 2 other guys ever actually did it. And so after that, I flew out for advanced training. Did advanced training a number of times, right? I was, as somebody who didn't really excel at much when I was little and stuff, I thought it was like absolutely awesome that somebody I respected a lot really had taken me under his wing. And I'd had that some in college, but this was even better because it was kind of spiritual. It's kind of like a wizardly godfather. And that was a lot of fun, but that's kind of how I got plugged into it and what it looked like in those early days.
What's interesting too is that there's a couple touch points which I find consistent in people's lives, like the death anxiety is an entry point for a lot of people, actually. And one of the things that's also interesting too is that the ones who are able to make that leap into actually trying, like, to do something beyond reading, what I find is if that person actually makes that leap, very rarely do they just go like, eh. They may say, for a little bit, but it eventually comes back to you. And then there's this kind of like pull eventually. And it's funny because that space of taking, how would you say it, wanting something more out of your life, and that call to wanting something out of your life and being able to, if this makes sense, you know, kind of like just give just enough to energize the will. Because that in itself is its own little miracle in someone's life, to just kind of like, oh, I can actually achieve something. And that kind of imaginative state of the mundane and wanting to escape all that. All these things kind of like come together. And it's just enough of a powder keg to kind of maybe not blow the whole house up, but it just gives enough of a little kind of like poof to kind of spark and getting curiosity, desire, and even maybe a little bit of, using resentment and some of the things that kind of are floating around in our lives to just get us moving in a certain direction. And all that stuff's really important because I think those are the things that, essentially get you to do something even though nobody's looking. Get you to do something where it's just kind of like, I'm doing this. And I think that's also real important too, because that's one of the things I found is the person it's a kind of inversion of integrity. The person who's willing to do the thing when no one's looking, even though like, I'm doing it. Does that make sense what I'm saying? Like that component is something that I find with people who eventually find themselves to whatever degree on the pathway of becoming serious occultists, it's also the very thing that's going to help them transition to a serious life in Christ, because you have to have that. You have to have that thing in you that's willing to say, I'm going to do this thing even though no one's looking. I'm going to actually engage this even though, it becomes between me and God. But at the time, it's you and,
Well, it's me and whatever demons I was talking to, right? Like, I mean, at the time I was calling up demons into triangles using my own image. I was calling angels into crystals. I was doing a crap load of research. Honestly, I am sure that I wrote 2 master's dissertations worth of research just for myself, because I was always trying to make things work better. And that was one of the things that in my order we have, like what's called the master mandala, where it's actually an astrological connection with like all the various demons from the Goetia attached to the different decans, and the princes of the various elements matched with the archangels, like that kind of stuff. And the whole idea is like, that's not static, and that's not truth. We were always told, no, you have to improve it, and the master of the order had improved it. Like, you could see his was like 4 or 5 iterations later, but I was always encouraged to experiment with that stuff and to try to push it further.
And so this gets you into a serious study of astrology, and even to the point where you become a Gnostic bishop.
I do become an Gnostic bishop. That is true. So with the Ars Notoria, you had to have the help of a priest, because you had to have the host as part of it. Like, this is where, stilling the host. This is where we're at with it. So at the time, I kind of had some connections with the liberal Catholic Church. And I reached out and I'm like, hey, I need a priest to help me. Oh, well, we don't have anyone there right now, but we'll make you a priest. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. I can do that. So I kind of wait around for a while. And I'm like, hey, are we ready to do that yet? No. Are we ready to do that? No. I'm like, okay, how about now? Hey, we're going to be in Oklahoma, so you can go ahead and come to Oklahoma. I was in Texas at the time, and we'll make you a priest. I get there, and I was like, well, we have all the bishops here, and we don't know when we're going to be able to have a gathering, so we're going to make you a priest and then a bishop.
Wow.
So, hooray.
Wow. So, it's like an inverted Ambrose, St. Ambrose,
So I went through the process, and then I didn't really want to do the Ars Notoria anymore. I had gone up and spent all this time going through the process of doing it, but I'm like, it's not going to work unless I commit to the bit, right? That's like, none of the magic works unless you commit to the bit. You can't just be like, woohoo, I'm a bishop now. No, it's like, no, I have to behave like a bishop. How do bishops behave? I don't know. So I started reading stuff, because that's how I learned things. I also plugged in, I did find someone local who was part of the liberal Catholic Church, and I plugged in with him and I started studying under him too. Liberal Catholic Church, if you're not familiar, is theosophy wrapped in Christianity. So they'll do I
just want to pause real quick, because one of the things that I'm aware of as we're talking is we're talking, but the reality is there's also an audience listening. So already there's a lot of things that I know what you're talking about. A lot of people don't know what we're talking about. So,
yeah. I was trying.
Right. No, you're doing great. You're doing great. I mean, it's just tough because I'm trying to do my job in regards of remembering, I'm actually interviewing you. And so, but there's people here. So the Theosophical Society, which a lot of people are not familiar with, and all of your kind of like movers and shakers in regards of kind of where we're at now, in regards of, I'm going to call them foundational underpinnings of New Age, the New Age movement they were all members of the Theosophical Society, formally speaking, right?
Yes.
So you got your Helena Blavatsky, Krishnamurti.
Yes.
Right? So I'm just saying that for everyone to understand what you're talking about, give a little, so please continue.
I didn't go deep enough. But
right. No, please, this is,
So the liberal Catholic Church takes all of that, which which is it's really a universalist, synchronistic religion, right? They're taking pieces of Tibetan Buddhism. They're taking stuff that Blavatsky dreamed of. I don't know. They're taking some of the weird stuff. And I'm not dissing the theosophists, right? A lot of them are very lovely people who do a lot in their community. But they worship demons, and that's just how it is.
They do.
So it's very much wrapped in that. And they do healing ceremonies and run it very much like a Western church. So would do a liturgy on Sundays, would do healing ceremonies like once a month on Wednesdays. All of this sounds kind of familiar. But there'd be weird stuff in the liturgy. Stuff like all the souls preparing to return to the world in the reincarnation. Like that was one of the people, that's one of the groups that we prayed for, right? But we were very, very rigid with other pieces. So I did that, but I was also reading other things. Like I read on the Priesthood.
St. John Chrysostom.
Yep. And that made me realize there was something deeply wrong with what I was doing. And with that, I was like, well, maybe this isn't great. And I was also a Mason. By this point, I had been a Mason for a while. And
Let's just pause real quick.
Okay.
I will bring you back to this, but everyone's gonna directly skip to everybody, right? Just real quick, how did you become? Like, where does that even come in?
Where did I become a Mason?
Yeah.
Okay, so there are two places that came from. One, my family is weird. We have been weird since we came over. We came over as Quakers as part of the Pin Colony. So Quakers, very, very weird spiritually people. And then I also had, related to that, I had a lot of Masonry in my family background.
And I hate to do this, forgive me, but I think this is important.
Okay.
I'm being a bad interviewer, but I'm stopping you more than I should.
That's fine.
I just want to say this, because a lot of people don't understand, they've heard that term Quaker, but they don't know why that term is used the way it is. And so just real quickly, the Quakers, the Society of Friends, right? The reason why they got that term was they would have their meetings and sit, and they would wait for
The spirit,
a spirit to come and to begin to move them.
right?
And the quaking of the building, right?
Yes.
So I think that's really important, because what I want to highlight here is these connections and how it isn't just Michael, Father Turbo, Jennifer, Kurt, Jimmy. Nobody pops out in a void.
No, absolutely.
So I just, forgive me, I just want to kind of like, so your family, there's this Quaker tie. So
Yeah, no, my family absolutely had the Quaker tie, and then they became Masons, right? So that's, and it matches, like it all interacts. So my dad was not a Mason, but my grandfather was a Mason, right? So all of that, and I didn't really have a good connection with my grandfather or anything. So it was kind of a way I could plug into family history. But where the initial idea came from was the master of the order I was part of was like, you need to learn how to actually administrate and organize people. And I can't teach that to you because I'm not good at it. But you know who is good at it? The Masons. And he himself was a Mason too. And he's like, you should really consider becoming a Mason. And I was like, sure, I'll go be a Mason. So because I was trying to make sure that I could learn the administration skills, because at the time it was a real possibility that even if I didn't, like, I might take over the order, I might not, but even if I didn't, I would need to help organize it. And Masonry would teach you those skills. I was like, hey, get an MBA. Okay, sure. I'll get an MBA in the esoteric. And I learned how to do a lot of stuff as a Mason. Do we want to go Masonry or do we want to go back?
let's go back. I just wanted to kind of, because one of the reasons why I wanted to point out is because I talk a lot about masonry, and I'm on the other side of it. But this is really important because I want people to understand that although from my position and the reason why I warn against it, talk about it, I don't want anyone to ever lose sight of the very practical reality of masonry. You know, because there's the internet and blah, blah, blah and all this stuff. But what you're talking about, what you're revealing is, I think this is the thing people don't understand about masonry, is that, you know, the kind of incarnational, pragmatic reality of syncretic religion is essentially how I would get people to understand Masonry on that level. And that's what you were initially going to it for, was this very pragmatic reality to be taught, to be initiated, and that was facilitating. Is that fair
Yeah,
to say?
no, absolutely.
Yeah, super
That
important
was
for people to understand.
Absolutely it.
Right. So so there's that. Boop, cut. And now we're going to back to St. John Chrysostom on the priesthood. Okay, and you're reading this and you're like, whoa.
Yeah, this is not what I'm doing.
Right. I hope you've enjoyed the preview. Please consider joining the Synaxis of Sophia community on School. You're going to find the link in the description. And it's there that not only are you going to find the full length of this episode, but you'll find all the full-length episodes that we've released so far. Also here, you're going to have exclusive access to the content of my catechism, various lectures and teachings. There's community engagement on everything ranging from the saints to spiritual warfare to just the general life in the church. It's a place where people want to be there to encourage others and not to get into fruitless debates. So please, if you enjoyed this content, join the Synaxis of Sophia on School, link in the description, and we'll see you there.